والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. Honorable mothers and sisters, our respected ulama and scholars of our community, our beloved children, our brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Once again, it is only through the mercy and the kindness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon our beautiful community of Perth, Western Australia, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent us a very special guest and a scholar of deen, an alim. And we know that when the ulama and the scholars, they come and they visit our communities, and then this is from the mercy and the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is out of the kindness of Allah that He allows us to welcome as a community these beautiful souls from whom you and I benefit from. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make the coming of our honorable guest, Shaykh Hasan Ali, all the way from the UK, make this travel of the Shaykh a means of goodness and a means of barakah and blessings and guidance and education and learning, and that it is a means of us, our hearts becoming closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our Shaykh's travels, inshallah. Many of us learn and benefit from the Shaykh, and we have been benefiting over YouTube and various other platforms for many, many years, alhamdulillah. And today we have got with us Shaykh Hasan Ali, hafizahullah, who is present, who is from the United Kingdom. The Shaykh, as an alim, as a scholar of deen, also is a graduate in educational psychology, and the Shaykh for the last 25 plus years has done a tremendous khidmah and service to humanity by preparing, not just giving something for us to use for ta'aleem and education, but of the highest quality, the world accepted Safar publications and Safar Islamic studies program and Quran Sharif reading program. Alhamdulillah, they have got the Safar Academy, Safar publications, where hundreds and thousands of students in more than 20, 30 countries are using this educational program, learning the Quran Sharif and their journey to their Quran Sharif, being able to recite the Quran, with more than 700 students and 90 full-time staff. Alhamdulillah, they continue to produce such high quality educational Islamic material that you and I are forever indebted, and we are indebted to Safar Academy. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless Shaykh and his team for making this great khidmah available and service to the ummah. May Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala put khair and barakah, inshallah. Brothers and friends, mothers and sisters, the most important thing for us as a community, it is the future. And part of that future, it is our youth. And that is why we have our children, our young brothers and sisters. We want you to benefit, to learn. How can we respect our parents? How can we respect our elders? How can we become true flag bearers of the deen of Islam? And inshallah, we will benefit from the discourse of the Shaykh, from his advices, from his nasiha. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow our hearts to be fertile, to take in the beautiful nasiha and advices and make it a means of changing our lives for the better. Jazakumullahu ahsan al-jaza. We will inshallah have this beautiful auspicious program opened with the recitation of the Quran Sharif by our young upcoming Hafiz, inshallah. Bismillah, tafaddal. Also, Brother Fawzi, the program is streamed live. The brothers, we will, inshallah, get the proper details of the new Islamic platform in our community that we can benefit from, inshallah. Okay.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن للمتقين مفازا حدائق وأعنابا وكواعب أترابا وكأسا دهاقا لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا كذابا جزاء من ربك عطاء حسابا رب السماوات والأرض وما بينهما الرحمن لا يملكون منه خطابا يوم يقوم الروح والملائكة صفا لا يتكلمون إلا من أذن له الرحمن وقال صوابا ذلك اليوم الحق فمن شاء اتخذ إلى ربه مآبا إنا أنذرناكم عذابا قريبا يوم ينظر المرء ما قدمت يداه ويقول الكافر يا ليتني كنت ترابا بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها وأخرجت الأرض أثقالها وقال الإنسان ما لها يومئذ تحدث أخبارها بأن ربك أوهى لها يومئذ يصدر الناس أشتاتا ليروا أعمالهم فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره صدق الله العظيم.
ما شاء الله تبارك الله. ما شاء الله. اللهم زد فزد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow our young Hafiz, inshallah, to complete the Quran Sharif. Say Ameen. And to lead us, inshallah, in Salah, in Taraweeh, and be our future leader. Ameen, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا وقودها الناس عليها ملائكة غلاظ شداد لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم ويفعلون ما يؤمرون. صدق الله العظيم. My dear respected brothers and sisters, firstly, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The youth that we have, the youngsters that we have, they are the ones that are to keep our deen ongoing in Australia, for them to be in charge of our masjids tomorrow. And they need to be in charge of our madaris, our places of learning. Tomorrow, they need to be in charge of. Not only that, they need to also be equipped with what is going to come tomorrow. Tomorrow is another world, a new world. A world where, forget about even the smartphones that we've got in our pockets. Those smartphones might even become archaic. A world where people might walk around with lenses, with a small contact lens on their eye. And through that contact lens, they're going to have access to the internet as we have it today. So you don't need to have a smartphone and walk with a smartphone. Where they're working already on your car, on your clothes, becoming the very means of communication. They're working on that. Meaning that the world of tomorrow is going to be a world way beyond what our world is today. We don't know what is there tomorrow. People's communications, people's way of interacting with one another is going to change. I mean, just look in the last 30, 40 years. 40 years ago, 50 years ago, I mean, if you go just before that, you'll see that the only communication with people was through telegram. And then it became through telephone. People had to dial and ring someone from another country and from another place, and then to talk to them through an actual telephone. And then slowly means the communication became the internet. And then it became the smartphone. And now with WhatsApp and the way that we communicate one another is revolutionized. It's all changed. Just within the last few years, how much and how we can have video calling. Just look in the last decade and a half, how your video calling has got better and better. Now you've got all these Zoom calls with several people on at the same time, all across the world, talking to one another. But imagine tomorrow what it's going to be, where people have holograms. There's going to be holograms of a person, where they're going to see one another. Not only that, perhaps there's going to be, people sitting here and feeling that they're actually in another place, because they've got a set of a sort of pair of glasses on their eyes, a helmet perhaps over their head, and they kind of feel that they're in another place. Now the world is going to change very much, but what's not going to change is the Quran is not going to change. The Quran is not going to change. The fact that we have masjids, and we come to a place of worship and we worship here together, that's not going to change. But people change. Now, how is it that we're going to ensure that our future of our youth are going to practice the deen the way it's been practiced for 1450 years? How are we going to ensure that? To ensure that, we have to make sure that we give them the best of education from a young age. And we give it in the proper manner. And I'm asking you, all of you parents, to give a lot of emphasis on Islamic education. Why? Because, my friends, without Islamic education, the masjid would not come. I want you to understand this. Without Islamic education, if you stop Islamic education properly, all the masjids will become empty. Within a few decades, all the masjids will become empty. If you close the masjids, but you keep the Islamic centers open, you can never have the masjids closed. Masjids will always reappear. If the madrasa is alive, the masjid is alive. If a madrasa dies, the masjid will basically be abandoned. It will be abandoned. Why? Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Makkah, he established not a masjid, he established a madrasa. When he was on his way to Medina, he established a masjid. On his way to Medina, and when he got to Medina, he established a masjid. Masjid came many years later. Madrasa came first. Darul Arqam came first. If you look at the first revelation of the Quran, the first revelation of the Quran is Iqra. It's not Usjud. It's not Ubud. It's not Ya ayyuhan nas ubudu. O people, worship your Lord. It's not that. It's nothing to do with worship. It's nothing to do with making a connection with Allah through acts of worship. No, Allah could have sent verses to do with worship, but He didn't. The first revelation is Iqra, read. It's education. Without education, there is no religion or faith. Without education, there would be no religious faith. It dies after a while. Our children, what do they need most? Yes, we bring them to the masjid. We have to bring them to the masjid, I understand. But more importantly, we have to send them to a place where they learn their deen properly. And parents, I'm going to encourage you, highly encourage you, don't cut on your deen, on your Islamic education children's learning. You know, you go through the globe and you see it. How much education do your children need? How much do they need every single week? They need several hours. They need several hours a week on different days of the week. They need the companionship of other Muslims for several hours a week in a learning environment. And only then will you have some form of, Islam inside them. If you cut it down to just one day a week, if you cut it down just to the Sunday, if you cut it down just to the Saturday, and yeah, let them go over there and let them, just learn a little bit of the deen, it doesn't work. The level of deen is going to be very shallow. It's going to be very, very shallow. In fact, if you go to America, you can find many places where they've just got the Sunday school. What happened? If you become lenient as parents, your children will become even more lenient. You become soft, they're going to become soft. What happened in many parts of the world, in the Western world, is that the parents, they went a bit easy. They went a bit soft. They said, oh, our children do 5 days a week, they do school, and then we've got to send them to an Islamic madrasa. So, for them to go 5 days as well to the Islamic madrasa, or the whole weekend, 2 days for them to go to the madrasa is too much. So they've done one weekend morning. What happened after that? In that one weekend morning, you can't get all of these, Islamic studies completed. You can't do that. In fact, they won't even learn how to read the Quran properly in that morning. They won't have the full establishment of the religion. And what will happen after that? After that, they will not even want to go there. I've been to America. Many of these places over in different parts of America, they are doing shukr and thanking the students for coming to the learning center on a Sunday. They're thanking them. They're very happy that the students have come to sort of learn. Young girl, go sit in one place. Sit in one place. Either sit here or sit over on the other side. Thank you. They will be happy if they come. And not only that, they're trying to drag their children. They're trying to drag their children to come. It's very difficult for some of them to even bring them on one day. The more easy you go, the more lenient you become, the more soft you become, the more soft your own children will become, to the extent that they will start dictating to you how they should learn. I've seen it with my own eyes. You know one of the biggest problem is? The biggest problem is not that you find it difficult for your children to be up in the morning and to learn, let's say on a Saturday morning, on a Sunday morning, or it's difficult for you to send them on a Friday, on a Monday to Friday, Monday to Thursday, after school to go and learn. That's not the difficult part. The difficult part is you. I'm being straight up. Parents find it, they're tired. Parents are tired. If you give the attitude to your children that you're not tired, your children won't feel tired. Most of us, when we were young, we had such a program. We just went through it. It became system. It became part and parcel. You went to school, you came back, you went to masjid, or you learned, it just passed like that. Days went like that. Most of us went through this system. If you make it the norm and you don't complain about your tiredness and your children don't feel it, it'll become the norm. What you need to understand is don't make it something where you are becoming lenient and then you're making the next generation even softer towards the religion. Islamic education is very, very, very important. You need to give several hours. And please, those parents who don't give those several hours and you don't send your kids to the masjid or to the madrasa, you're going to see the result and you're going to suffer in the future. How? We've seen it in front of us, a generation of people who have grown up. Those very children, they will grow up and they won't give any preference to the deen. You know what I've seen? And this is what happens in our Muslim community sometimes. The children know which education you have given more priority to. Is it the secular education or is it the madrasa education? They know this. Tell me this, you tell me. I've seen it in the Western world. Parents will make sure that the kids are up early in the morning to go to school. But parents won't make sure up early in the morning the kids are reading Fajr. Do you think the children haven't realized where your priorities are? Dunya wa akhirah. Are you guys following me? Yes or no? Yes, you follow me, yes or no? Guys, you need to speak to me. Yes? Subhanallah. I know it's a Saturday night, man. Some of you are tired, you know what I'm saying? If you give your priority to, let's just say, maths tuition, English tuition, 2 hours tuition, you never miss it. And you don't complain. And you don't mind paying the fees for that. No matter how much fees for that, no matter how many hours, you're going to do it. Because it's your priority. You don't question how many dollars an hour you're paying for extra maths tuition, extra English tuition, extra science tuition. You don't complain. You don't complain about the hours. The tutor says you need to do 4 hours a week, you do 4 hours a week. The teacher says you need to do 6 hours a week, you do 6 hours a week. You don't complain. But then when it comes to the madrasa, what happens is you then start questioning. You're saying, why are we paying so much money to you? You start questioning. Young girl, go over there, sit with the parents, go sit over there. You're doing roly-polies and you're doing all sorts of things over here, distracted. You question the madrasa. You question why you're paying so much fees. You question the hours. Why do I have to send my kid for that many hours? Why do I have to send them for so much time? You think your children don't understand where your priorities are? When it comes to what's the first big exam you have over here at 60 or something? What's the first big exam? What is it called over here? Huh? Nebula. N? Oh, Naplan. Okay, sounds a bit like Nepalese, man. Naplan. Okay. So when you're getting your Naplan sort of exam or thing done, I'm sure parents are giving a lot of priority to that. Your children have already worked out which one you're giving priority to. Now give priority to religion, you'll see the religion grow. You give priority to the secular education, you see that will grow. Now nobody is saying to you not to prioritize the secular education. Prioritize it, fine. But more priority should be given to the religious education. Why? Your children will treat you based on who you made them to be. If they know Allah and His Messenger, they will treat you according to Allah and His Messenger's rules. If they know more of more of the culture of this country and the secular education is more inside them, they're going to treat you according to that. And you'll see it when you grow up. The religion of these children is based upon what we give them when they're young. So number one is make sure that they have got enough hours, that they're going to madrasa and you're paying the fees and you don't question it. Now look, these ustads, these people who are running the madaris, and I'm going to ask the sisters, please keep your children with you. They're running around, they're distracting me as they're coming into my eye line. I'm going to ask you sisters, please, these children that are running around, they're distracting me. Please bring the children to yourselves. Keep them with yourselves at the back. Jazakumullah khair. You have to understand that these children, whatever you make their future to be, it's at this age, at this young age. At this young age, whatever you do. The more Islam you put inside them, the more hours you will dedicate, the more Islam will be inside them. The less you do that, the less you have. And let's just talk about ourselves. What makes me a Muslim? What makes me identify myself as a Muslim who is with the religion? How many times have I heard bayans, lectures? How many times when I was young, I made my own my own upbringing has been all Islam. How many times? How many times has that been the case? Please leave the curtains alone. Just leave them alone, please. Just sit down, please sit down. How many times have I, when I was young, how many Muslims did I see around me that were praying? How many times frequently did I go inside the masjid and outside the masjid? How many of my community members were Muslims? Now, I don't know where you've grown up, but wherever you've grown up, the level of your religiousness is based upon how many times these things came in front of us. These children, how many times is it coming in front of them? Is the question. Because as they grow up, as they grow older, the chant is going. The chant is going. It's supposed to be done at a young age. Now, these teachers that are teaching, I was saying to you, these teachers that are teaching in the madaris, they have the same bills to pay. They have the same bills to pay like you. They have the same bills to pay, gas bills, electric bills. The phone company doesn't, the gas company doesn't phone them and say, oh, Mr. So-and-so, you got a gas bill that's due? And he says, yeah, but I'm working for, a charity. I'm working in a madrasa. They give me less fees over there. Can you cut my bill, please, in half? They're not going to do that. The same Maulana, the same Ustad, the same person who's teaching your children, he's got to buy a house. He's got his children, he's got to look after. Now, why is it that we've made this thing? I'm going to be very clear with you. Because this is all over the Western world, in the Muslim places. Everybody wants the religion to be fi sabilillah. Everyone wants it to be fi sabilillah. Do it for cheap. My friend, the same Maulanas, the same Imams, they need to pay, they have the same bills as you. They need to buy a house. They need to establish themselves in the community. If our mentality is that we're going to pay, look, what do our parents do? The parents in our communities, when it comes to Netflix, when it comes to Sky, when it comes to these packages, they don't compromise. They pay the full package. They don't question. When it comes to private tuition, you don't question. You just pay. You just pay. If it's $25 an hour, $30, $40 an hour, $50 an hour, you just pay. You don't question. When it comes to the religious side, there's questions asked. Why is it costing so much? Why are you guys doing this? The religion should be for free. We know this. Halas. Excuse me. Just take a break. Chill. These ustads, they've got bills to pay. They've got to get their own house. How are they supposed to do that? If we don't give them a future, how are they supposed to look after the future of our children? So that's another mentality we need to break in our mind. Say, look, whatever fees that they set, and if you've got that extra money and so on, just give it. Give it for the sake of children. There's certain parents, they don't want to buy an Islamic book. For like, an Islamic book for like $10, $20, Islamic book, they don't want to buy it because why are we paying so much money for that? You know what I said to some parents? I said, listen, you go out there and you have a shawarma. You know shawarma? How much is your shawarma over here? How much? $12. The book is $10 or $12. Your shawarma is $12. Your shawarma tomorrow is going to be in the sewage. You eat the full shawarma today, your kid goes with you to the shawarma shop, he has a full shawarma, you have a full shawarma, tomorrow is both you and your kid, you send the shawarma to the sewage. You get the Islamic book for $12, that book will remain with you for a lifetime. It will give you the success in this world, and most of all, it's going to give you success in the next world. Why is it that our parents and others are now thinking, well, this should be fi sabilillah. Why is it costing us this much? Come on, my friends. This is the deen. Let us give them the future. Now, what's the other thing? The other thing is parents who give their children to the madrasa like a kindergarten. So they pay the fees, they send them for their hours, and the next thing is the Maulana is going to sort him out. The Maulana is the bad cop, I'm the good cop. You guys with me or not? You guys, some of you are not understanding what I'm trying to say. You guys yes with me, yes or no? The parent says religious teaching is all to do with the Maulana, the Imam. I don't teach anything. No, my friend, you have to practice the deen in your house. If you don't pray, if the mother doesn't wear the hijab, if the mother doesn't display her Islamic, character in front of the children, the father doesn't do the same thing, the children, they will learn Islam as a theory, not as practice. That Islam is not going to stay straight up. It's very difficult to keep that Islam going. You as a parent, you need to up your game. I'm going to ask all parents here. If you don't know how to read the Quran with tajweed, my friend, you're not alone. There are tens and hundreds of adults like you who once knew how to read the Quran, but they forgot it. Or they don't know proper tajweed. What should you do? You come to your local masjid. You ask your imam. We want adult lessons, adult classes. We're all going to sit down and we're going to learn how to read the Quran. There's no shame inside this. You as parents come forward. I want to up my game with the religion. Only then my children will up their game with the religion. So you come, learn tajweed, learn alif, ba, ta, sa, learn from the beginning, no problem. If it is so much of a discomfort for you, that it's very uncomfortable for you to do that because I'm an adult, I'm 40 years old, and I'm going to go to the masjid, and I'm going to pick up a book that my kids are picking up, and I'm going to learn alif, ba, ta, sa. Oh my God, it's so embarrassing. No problem, my friend. Do private tuition. Do it privately. Go behind in some room and go and learn it. Go learn somewhere else. But the thing is, you have to learn it. I know so many parents, they send their kids to the madrasa to learn how to read the Quran when they don't pick up the Quran themselves. They don't know how to read the Quran. The whole year goes by, they don't know how to read the Quran. What is this? Is this a joke? Kids are going to be sent to go and learn how to read the Quran when he sees his mom and dad never pick up the Quran, never read the Quran. Do you think that kid's going to carry on doing tilawah at home? Very small chance, very small. After a few years, the kid's going to do exactly the same thing. What's the example I'm setting in my house for the future of my children? If I'm on my smartphone most of the time when my kids come home, what am I setting for my children? Wallah, I want to say to you one thing. Really, my childhood memories. You know what my childhood memories are? Of my mother and my father. And I had almost like a grandmother. She wasn't my real grandmother, but she was like a grandmother that's kind of far distance related to me. This is my childhood memory. They worked all day. They were busy all day. I'm talking about the parents and the elders. When it came to they fed us the evening meal, okay, they've given us the food, we've eaten, they've washed up, everything put away. You know what they did? I clearly remember this. They sat with either the Quran, they sat with the tasbih in the hands, they sat with the wazifa in the hands. What's the wazifa? Wazifa is a collection of litanies, surahs, du'as, certain things. They sat there sometimes for half an hour, sometimes 1 hour, and they just read in the evening. That's my memory of my elders in my own household. Of course, those days there were no smartphones. But the thing is that this memory will stick and be etched in my mind for life. That this is what elders do. They've done everything they can, then they're sitting with the Quran. My memory early in the morning is my father reading his tahajjud. Every single morning. Every morning getting up, he's done his wudu, he's there, tahajjud, he's done his tahajjud, and he's crying. He's crying after tahajjud. That's my early memories. If these are the memories of children, then you can expect your children to follow the footsteps of parents and at least be the same as you, if not better than you. Our children, what they see is, they see us coming after a hard day. We come, we sit down, we slump on the sofa, and we've got the smartphone in our hands. We're browsing the internet. We've got the remote in our hands. We're browsing the different channels. That's what the memories are. The thing I'm trying to get across to parents is, let us up our game of the religion. Now, some of us are going to say, well, I need some of this entertainment. Look, I'm not saying to you it's haram entertainment. I'm not saying any of that to you. I'm not saying to you, don't pick up your phone at home. I'm not saying that. But where are the priorities? Why is it that I have got, as an adult, time to watch YouTube, surf the net, go through my social media for 2 whole hours, flick through video after video, see WhatsApp messages that came to me, read those messages, give the answer and reply to all those WhatsApp messages, WhatsApp groups, go through all of that, go and see who said what, see what's going on, see where, see who's talking about what. So we do all of that. But the same day, I have no time for the Quran. That's wrong priorities. That's what I've gone wrong. I need to ask myself a question. You need to ask yourself a question. What is it that I've done for my akhirah? If I'm not concerned about my akhirah, I want my kids to be concerned about the akhirah. You know what they'll do? They will go to the maktab, they'll go to the madrasa, they'll go to the Islamic studies place, and they will do their thing because they have to. They're young. They have to listen to me. I'm their father, I'm their mother. I'm going to say to them, you better do it. They're just going to do it till they're 13, 14. Once they get to that, they're going to leave. I don't understand why we even, a lot of us want our children just to finish the Quran khatam and then they leave. My friends, please change your whole attitude towards this. Why have we made another thing, another problem we made? We just put pressure on the Imam, the Maulana, just so that my kid can get to the end of the Quran and he's finished the Quran. That is a huge mistake you're making. Because the child is going to understand, my goal in this place is to finish the Quran. So he's going to try and get to the end of the Quran so he can leave the place. La ilaha illallah. What's supposed to happen is, we're supposed to make them go there, let them do several khatams while they're there, no problem. The khatam of the Quran, finishing the Quran, should not be an objective. No. The objective should be that they stay in that company. The age when these kids need the Islamic learning the most is in the teenage years. And unfortunately, the khatam of the Quran has been done by 12, 13, and these children leave at that age. The kids that need the maktab and the madrasa and Islamic learning more that they do need it at age 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. But more than that, they need it at the age of 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, because that's when the hormones are making them go crazy. That's when they're going, that's when they're thinking that, I'm somebody different. I need to break loose. I need to prove that I'm an adult. That's when they're doing that. We need to make a system they stay in that company during those years. And in my house, when they come, they see me, my wife, that we are practicing Islam. That's when the kids are going to see another level of Islam. That's when they stay on the deen. Otherwise, you know what happens? They see us. They finish the Quran. We don't even read the Quran. They will put the Quran on the shelf. After 1 year, they're not even reading. After another couple of years, they're starting to forget how to read. This happens it's happened to one generation, next generation, next generation. Why are we not putting a stop to this? My child, when he comes home, she comes home, every day make him read the Quran. I should read the Quran, make them read the Quran, even if it's 1 page. Okay, they're busy. They're doing this Nepal, what did you say? What was it? Naplan? Subhanallah, it sounds like Nepal. They're getting the exams coming up. Why shouldn't they read 1 page of the Quran? What does it take to read 1 page of the Quran a day? Few minutes, couple of minutes. It's going to be done. How can you have an excuse not to read the Quran a day? Not only that, our children, as they're growing up, they need to go through. Look, they need to go through their own understanding and learning of the religion. Look, when we teach them the religion, when they're 8, when they're 9, they learn it in a different way. Sometimes the brain is not even developed to understand everything they're doing. You know when the real learning is? The real learning is when my child has been faced with all the different fitan and the different tribulations outside, and they face a difficulty, and then the Islam is at jeopardy. That's when they need me the most. Am I there as a parent there, or am I too busy with my work, with my job? Am I able to even sit and be open with them with the questions that they have, or am I basically a person, a dad or a mother that they're not going to even come and speak to me about what doubts and things they've got in their minds. You know, these children in the Western world, the Western world has been designed on the philosophy of always questioning. The whole of the Western world, its whole civilization comes from Greece. 2,000 years ago in Greece, the civilization that was there, that was the basis of the entire Western world. If you go to 2,000 years earlier, you'll see philosophy was the core stone of the Greek civilization. And if you look at philosophy, it's all about questioning. You question and you question and you question what you found and you question that as well, and you find another answer, you challenge that one, you question that, you question that, you question everything. There's no end to questioning. This is the whole Western education system, is based upon that philosophy. Now when you carry on doing that, you're going to start ending up questioning Allah. That's what happens in these schools. They're going to question the Quran. They're going to question our faith. They're going to question what we have believed in. Our kids now, they're 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, whatever. They've gone to high school, they've gone to college, they've gone to university, and now they're interacting with many other different, faith members. And now with those other faith members, they start to, what does a human do? A human is always seeing, how do I fit in with all of these other humans around me? Why is it that he believes that, he believes that? And you know what happens when we all get together? What we have something called a strong character and we have a weak character. Each and every one of us is weak compared to someone out there, and we're strong compared to someone else out there. Are you guys with me? Yes? So when we get together in any conversation, in any place, you're either in a position of showing strength, or you're in a position of showing weakness automatically. Let's say, for example, there is a IT specialist sitting here. The moment an IT, some infrastructure conversation strikes up, and you're an IT specialist sitting there, you are now strong. We're weak. I'm weak in front of you because of what the knowledge you have. In the same gathering, the conversation switches to politics. The man sitting in that crowd who is most astute with political affairs, he becomes a strong one. And we become weak. Even the IT specialist becomes weak in front of him. Yes or no, guys? Come and tell me, yes or no? Because he drives the conversation. What he says is going to go. Now, let's say, for example, two guys speak about political affairs. But one will show, I know more than you with his conversation. That one becomes more stronger. Now the same thing happens when it comes to religion, when it comes to faith, when it comes to ideas, when it comes to secular ideas, when it comes to religious ideas. Somebody's going to be strong, so you're going to feel either strong or weak in that position. Now whenever that happens, and a child has had their iman challenged, what should be done then? What should be done is that child of ours, we shouldn't call him just a child now, it's a teenager, grown up, high school student, they need to find someone in the Muslim world to go to and to be able to express the weakness they found themselves in. They need to say, Ya Ustad, oh my parents, I'm feeling that my faith is shaking. Because it happens. You're in a position, somebody said all to you, and they made you feel small, they made you feel weak. You never had the knowledge to defend yourself. And they proved their haqq and their truthfulness over yours, and they may put you in a very weak position. What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to have the opportunity to go and ask. Now here's the problem we have. A lot of parents are not capable of answering the children. I understand that. What should you do? You should bring them to the imams. Even if any imam is not in a position to answer that, they should take them to another imam that has more knowledge than them. I'm telling all the imams here this. Don't ever judge the child. Don't scold them. Don't tell them off. Don't make them feel silly. Don't make them look stupid. Don't shun them away. Don't start having a go at them. don't say, oh my God, what have you done? You are talking, Na'udhu billah, astaghfirullah. You know what that does? That's going to shut their doors down from asking you. They're not going to get rid of the doubts. That doesn't make them get rid of the doubts. No person you shut off gets rid of the doubts. No, they just learn how to never ask you that question again. Finish. But inside, that little thing that's doubtful, that's going to carry on. So the best way is to have an open conversation with them. And Allah has said in the Holy Quran, وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. Above every person of knowledge is another person of knowledge. If you haven't got the answer, my friend, take that teenager, take that person to another person of knowledge. There will be someone out there who will be able to deal with their doubts. You know, the age that we've entered, is our children are heading for a life, where they don't have Islam in their lives. Our children are heading in that direction. Our children have got so much going on in terms of entertainment in their lives that these masjids, these madrasas they become very boring for them. They become very boring for them. Let me give you an example. You ever seen one of these screens when they're playing the games? You see how many times the screen changes, the angle changes, the colors change. You see how much sound there is there. You see how they are moving along. They're probably going, they're playing a game where they're going as a team across fields. They've got guns. They're picking them up. They are talking to each other. Hey, duck down. Hey, get in the bush. They're very excited. They're looking around. The whole screen moves along, shows them different angles. They pop up the sniper. There's excitement, there's color, there's so much going on. After all of that, when they played for 2 hours, 3 hours, you switch that game off and then you give them a maths book, you give them an English book. It's boring. It's black and white. It doesn't move. Nothing's moving. You bring them to a masjid, the walls are boring. Nothing moves, brother. You understand? Things get a bit boring. Now the thing is, our children already are in that. Our children are sucked in that. But we've got to put our religion there. Send your children to the madaris. Cut down the amount of entertainment that I've had at home. Have a timetable. If you set your timetable at whatever it is, your children will abide. I see la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. I see parents, kids messing around. What do? They give the phone straight away to the child. What are you doing? You're giving your smartphone to your child, putting YouTube on, putting a game on, so that your kid can sit right in front of you in the masjid, in a social gathering, so that they can play and be distracted. You've just messed everything up. Why? Because that kid needed to learn how to sit in a gathering like this without having to have a smart device. That's life. That's life. I've seen them parents giving pads, something to keep them busy. Oh yeah, they're gonna be busy, fine. Don't get me wrong. The moment you've given the smartphone and the iPad and something else, they're not gonna bother you, no problem. But the moment you switch it off, you're gonna see them go crazy. You know why? Because there's so much dopamine that was released in their minds because they were playing these games and so on. As soon as they switch it off, now they crave. Because look, every time they play the game, everything they achieve, there's small amounts of dopamine that's been released in the brain. Small amounts. The same chemical in our brains that gets released when a person takes drugs, on a small amount of that gets released in our brains when a child is playing a game and they've achieved something. When they're being entertained by something, they've achieved something. So now you take that away and now you want them to sit down like this. They can't sit down like this. Guaranteed in your houses, when you have got them entertained with these devices, soon as you switch it off, they're running around, they start fighting with one another. Why? Because their energy levels are high. If you want them to start sitting down, cut down on the devices. Cut down on the time of the devices. Give them, if you're going to give them devices, give them at set times. Whatever rule you set, they will abide by it. In my house, you know what I did? For a long period of time when my children were growing up, we said straight up, Monday to Friday, you can't switch anything on. Monday to Friday, you can't switch anything on. You go to school, you come home, you do your homework, you do other studies, you read the Quran, you do other stuff, fine. You can play other games, but not electronic games. And then you go to sleep. Khalas, alhamdulillah. You know what? Kids accept it. But you know, you as the father and your mother and their mother, you have to be on the same level with the same laws. You can't have one person being tough and the other person being lenient. That doesn't work. Or a grandpa sitting at home and he spoils everything with a lollipop in the mouth. He spoils it, she spoils it, the grandmother spoils it. Aaja beta, thoda sa kha, take a chocolate in your mouth, take this in your mouth, take that in your mouth. And then you can do this, go on, I'll let you as a grandmother do it. I'll let you as a grandfather do it. That's not going to work. All the adults in the house have to be with the same rules. Then you see the kids, they will accept whatever rules you've got in the house. The trick is, don't be too lenient, don't be too strict. Just be balanced, and the kids will accept it. Kids will accept it. Now, as they're growing throughout their ages, Islam, every age, you've got to make sure it's there. When they're 7, they start to pray. When they're 10, they should be praying all their salahs. From 10, 11, 12, are you checking on the kids? Are you giving them the reminders? Are you making them pray? Some parents say what? Some parents say, oh, why do I have to keep on reminding him? Why do I have to keep on telling him? I keep on telling him to pray. Why doesn't he pray himself? Whoa. Hang on a minute. You keep on giving reminders, no problem. You'll see one day they will start praying themselves. The time will come when they'll do it themselves because they know you're on their backs. But you do your prayers yourselves. Your Islamic knowledge, if it's up, the kids' Islamic knowledge will be up. In the house, there will be a whole thing about them coming to you and asking you about Islamic, questions. Why shouldn't you as a parent, read these books and make sure that your level of knowledge is high? So the kids come to you and you have a discussion about religion. That needs to be there. If you haven't got the knowledge, no problem. Bring them to the circles of knowledge. If not that, ask the local imam which imams and scholars and sheikhs should you listen to on YouTube. And if the imam says listen to this sheikh, that sheikh, see it, watch it as a family. Watch those things as a family. You haven't got Islamic knowledge, okay, no problem. Sit down with your family and watch these shuyukh. You've got so much on the internet that is available of Islamic lectures. Just make sure you're watching the right person. So consult your local imam with who you should listen to, and they will guide you. But that's another way of getting your Islamic knowledge on. Now, I'm going to open up to Q&A in a couple of minutes. What I want to say finally to you, my friends, is these masjids are going to be empty if we don't put all our efforts behind these children. We're going to buy these masjids. We'll buy these masjids. Now we've got a serious problem lying ahead. Already we've got a serious problem lying ahead, which is technology is taking the minds of our children. The culture around us is sucking the life out of them. These children that are growing up, they see us coming to the masjids, they see us at Jummah, they see us within the religion and so on. But you know what? These kids, their minds are in another world. If me and you don't make full effort, I don't want to see the day, just as we've seen so many churches in the West be sold and converted to masjids. We don't want a day in the West where masjids are being sold and converted to other places of worship. We don't want that. For that, we need to keep our game up at every single level. Keep the game up. From a young age all the way till they're going towards the ages when they're getting close to marriage and so on. Keep on the fact that you're going to carry on making them have Islam around them as much as you can. As much as you can. Anyway, I'm going to open up to Q&A right now. If you just put your hands up, you're going to ask the question straight up. Yes, at the back there. The thing is that the laws differ on all of this in every single country, right? So the thing is, I'm going to ask you that this is something which you're going to have to talk to your own scholars about, because I don't want to say something here which might be fine in Australia for me to say, but then it's not fine in the UK for me to say, because the law with these with this is changing. It's even shifting as we're moving along. And it's something which I think what you should do is you need to learn from us in the UK, in Canada, and so on. You need to learn in the sense, what's happened to the marking system? I don't know if you just check that, please. You need to learn from the people who've had the laws become a lot more stricter for them in other countries. You guys are still good in this country. There's a lot of stuff that you can still say, which we can't even say in other countries. So I think you should, the efforts, put your efforts together. Don't make it something which you're only doing on behalf of Islam. You need to do something on behalf of all the faiths, because there are many faiths that don't want to push ahead with this agenda. And I know, alhamdulillah, in Sydney there's been efforts, in Melbourne I saw there was efforts. I'm sure here in Perth there's also efforts where you get together with different faith leaders and you take this matter forward, and you try and establish what you believe is your right, inshallah. Any other brothers with a question? Yes.
Peer pressure. Maybe sometimes try to be in the room, strict, set rule, children complain, or my principally, where I can do.
I can hear you better without the mic. So peer pressure, go on.
Peer pressure, like they compare that they have television, why we don't have? They have my friend, the parents give them so much time to all these revenues. Why we can't get this?
Yeah, I mean, we hear this quite a lot. I've not had it in my own house. My own child will come and say, how come my cousins are able to do this and I can't do this? They've got they can watch all of these things. We can't watch this. They play so many hours, we can't play so many. We said, okay, this is not your cousin's house. Straight up. This is our house. Our house has our rules. Your cousin's house, they have their rules. But then we explain to them, because one of the things that you have to do with these kids that are growing up in the West is you have to give them reasoning. You have to reason with them. You can't just say yes or no. So the reason we gave to them, we said, look, you might find in this house the rules are a little bit more stricter than those other rules that are in the other house. But we said your life's going to be a lot better when you grow up. You'll see this. We said when you have leniency and you allow kids to play longer, you allow them to watch things longer, their akhlaq, their character is going to have an effect. There'll be an effect on their character and their akhlaq. And you'll also see that the studies that they are doing, the studies you're doing in my house, you'll be a lot more grounded in your studies than the other house. And they saw that in their life. But you have to reason with them. You have to tell them that, look, there's a reason. I'm not going to give you that many hours. Why? Because it's going to spoil you. You're going to be going to school late. You're going to be tired. You're not going to be able to get good rest, good night's sleep. These things need to be switched off a lot earlier. Or I'm not going to allow you to play them, because you're going to be someone whose mind is busy with what you've just seen as entertainment, and you're not studying properly. And your studies are important for this reason, for that reason, for that reason. Explain. But don't give in. You're the parent at the end of the day. They'll accept it. As long as there's good reasoning, they'll accept it. But make sure also that you don't take them so frequently to those cousins' houses and to the other houses, because they'll keep on putting that pressure up on you. Seriously, you have to sometimes cut down. Like if you've got a brother's house, and in your brother's house there's openness of what the kids do, and your house you're trying to keep things on the religion, like a bit more, because look guys, let's face it, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us, ad-dunya sijnul mu'min. If you're a believer, the world is a prison for you. What the Prophet, according to hadith of Sahih Muslim, he said, ad-dunya sijnul mu'min. If you are a believer, the world is a prison for you. What does that mean? When you're in prison, you've got restrictions. When you're in prison, you've got more restrictions. Now your house, when you start applying all the Islamic rules to your house and trying to keep them on the faith, you're going to have restrictions. But there's a price to pay when you don't have those restrictions. Because you made yourself Sijnul Mu'min, you made yourself a prison on this earth, but inshallah in the exchange of that you get the freedom of Jannah. But when you make this place your Jannah in this world, then you got the Sijn in the next world, you know what I'm saying? You got the prison in the next world. May Allah protect all of us. So the thing is, explain these things to the children. That there is some, restrictions here, but you're going to have a better life when you grow up. And when you go to the Akhirah, you're going to have a much, much better life. And keep them away from all these different companionships that they've got and reason with them. Another person with a question, please. Yes.
Actually, Jazakallah khair, it's a very nice lecture. Jazakallah. Just another question, just a suggestion. Actually, I moved here from New Zealand recently. So
From where?
New Zealand.
New Zealand, Auckland.
Yeah, Christchurch, the place with
yeah.
mosque attack. After the mosque attack, obviously the government started to listen to our community. And we made like a bridge between Muslim community and public schools. And my experience with this, yes, the children go to, there is Islamic schools or Islamic sessions, but actually as a Muslim, we made a bridge to go to their school. Number one, asking to be Arab languages and like choosing language like Chinese or other languages. The other thing that is, we went to be like give a lecture for people so the children, they know what it's all about Islam rather than just let the children answer questions about Islam. And the other thing, actually make the teachers aware about, we pray 5 times, we fast Ramadan and the reason behind it. And children, because they get some school, they get very upset when we take the children to go to Friday prayer. So actually, this is ease a lot of things, but initially it was a problem, but because the government started to help, support, that is things start moving. So this is one of the things I'm thinking. I don't know how things here in Australia.
Yeah, this is something very local for you. I think you'd have to talk to the local ulama here and see how it all goes. So take it up with them, because I'm from outside. I wouldn't know what's going to work here, what's not going to work here. Inshallah. Inshallah. You got Sheikh Burhan in the back. You got Sheikh Abdullah over here somewhere. You got others as well. These are the local ulama. Please ask them. But many of the shuyukh that are sitting here as well, I can see. Please ask them about this question. Any other questions you've got from the brother side? Anyone on the sister side that can be forwarded on? We can take their questions. Any brothers with a question? Any questions? Yes?
Nowadays, the Islamic school, after 7 or 8 years, is kind of mandatory to use laptop in school. So, based on the usability of laptop, there's a lot of platforms and other genders, even after 7 years age. So, if you happen to know that the child is somehow related to
Okay, so relationships that these children might form, okay, and they might form the relationships on through a laptop, through a smartphone, whatever, the form the relationship. So how do you deal with that? The thing is, look, try and keep the mind of the child open, that they talk to you about these things. If they've done it secretly behind your back, you as a parent should have access to their laptop, to their smartphone. Never give a smartphone to the child and they lock their phone away from you. Never. They should all. I gave it to my kids at the age of 16. The smartphone. Even then, I said I'm going to share the passcode. What does a child know about how to navigate through a phone? What do they know? I mean, they might say to you, I'll be safe, this and that, but they don't know. They're too young, right? So I will check now and again to see what they're doing. Even on the laptop, like you're saying, when they were using those laptops in our house, they had to use them in a way that we can walk past, we can see what they're doing. Because anytime they can switch on the internet, like we said, go to a chat room, go and find someone, talk to them, and make a relationship. Now let's just say they've got the relationship. What do? If you find out, talk them out of it, because these young children, they don't understand what is it that is lying ahead. I mean, most of these kids that are even thinking of even meeting someone, at a young age and so on, they got no idea what life is. All they see is the outside of the other person. The other person sees the outside of them, and they're both on the best behavior for those few hours. They're both on the best behavior, and they don't know what life is. Life is not. You can't always be together and always smile. You don't always do that. You don't always wear your best clothes and be with each other. You don't do that. So when they're doing all of this, they're faking it. And what they're really seeing is they're seeing the personality of a person, but not the character. My personality, your personality is different from our character. So to understand this, if you understand a receptionist at a company, let's say they're working for some electric company, and they start phoning someone and say, "Okay, Mr. Smith, you got to pay this bill or whatever," and then Mr. Smith is raging. "My bill is gone high. I don't understand this. I got all that." So the receptionist says, "I understand, Mr. Smith. I understand your situation. I would like to help you, but they speak so nicely, and all day they're on the phone. They speak so nicely. But when they go home, they be themselves. When they're home, they probably don't even look at their sister when they're speaking. They don't even have that tone of speaking. So at work, they were showing and displaying the personality. At home, they're displaying the character. Your real thing is who you really are. You don't display that when you're with a person and you're trying to be on your best behavior. So people discover one another when they live with one another. And there are many challenges of life which these kids don't know. So sit with them, reason with them, tell them, look, you're after just one thing. You're just after some fun. But you don't want responsibility. So you need to wean them off it, talk them out of it, tell them about the religion. And I want to say another thing to this, which is, when our kids are actually ready for marriage, when their mind is ready for marriage, their intention is serious about marriage, they're at an age they understand the seriousness of marriage, and then a good girl comes along or a good boy comes along, marry them. Don't do what most of our parents do. What do most of the things what do they do? They tell them, "Oh, you can't get married." Why? Because you're not old enough. The guy's ready to be a father. You're telling him he's not old enough because he's 21. Or you got to finish your studies. Is that an excuse? He's going to start committing zina. You got to finish your studies. And when he's finished his studies, you need to get a job. So then the guy gets a job. You're still not ready to get married. Why? Because you need to have some savings. So now he's going to work for several other years to get his savings done for a deposit of a house. Finally, when he gets to like 30, 29, 30, say, now you're ready to get married. Now the guy, he's lost half his hair on his head. He's bald. The guy has lost. The girl also, before she was getting so many proposals at 20, 21, 22, this is when they're ripe. They're getting loads of proposals. You delayed it. You said, no, she's got to finish her studies. So she waited till 23, she finished the studies. Then she's got to get a job. So she gets a job. What happens? When she gets 26, 27, and the proposals are coming, the proposals are less now. And everyone who comes to propose says, how come she's not married? How come she's 27? How many people have rejected her? How many people have said no to her? And we do this all the time. I don't understand. And some people say, no, you can't get married. Why? Because you got 3 more brothers older than you. They've got to get married first. When was it the case that Allah's rizq comes from the son number 1 first, then son number 2, then son number 3? When is that? Tell me this. Has this not happened? You get married, you have no children. Your younger brother gets married and he gets children. Does that happen, yes or no? Yes or no, guys? Is there such a thing that because I'm the eldest in the family, I have to die first? Do we all die in the same situation? No. Death, risk, Allah gives any time. So when it comes to marriage, why is it that we're going to now say to them, you can't get married because you got another older brother than you, he's got to get married first. The younger one's risk has come. His wife is, his to-be wife is ready. But the older one, we can say, no, you're going to have to wait in the queue like a bus. Wait for the first one to get married. So we create our problems ourselves. Like, honestly, just make it easy for them. Make marriage easy for them as long as they're responsible. Then they will stop doing most of these things. If you make marriage difficult, if the kid knows, look, there's no way I'm going to get married right now, but I want to be married, but my parents are not going to accept it. Sometimes what we do, we say, oh, you can't get married. Why? Because, they're not from the same village as we are in the back home somewhere where you've never been. Crazy. He's an Australian. He's no longer a Malay. He's no longer a Pakistani. He's no longer, no, better you gotta listen to this. Okay, fine. Okay, if you want to drive like that, then at least find someone for him. No. You can only get married to your cousin. Waiting for you in Pakistan 20 years before. Oh my God. You make life difficult for them, what they're going to do? They're going to start making their own life choices. And they know they can't get married, so they're going to do all their business, behind your back. So part of it is our fault. Why are we making so many difficulties for them? I've told my kid, he's 18 years old now, I've told him straight up, I said, if you find someone, let me know straight up. I'll help you. I'll talk to her family. If she's a good girl, alhamdulillah, get married. No problem, get married. I'll help you whichever way. I'm not even looking at, I don't want him to have to get a full job and get a deposit I said, no, because risk comes automatically anyway. I don't see why you got to get your son to get the job and get this and that. Come on, man. You're making life so much difficult for him. You can help him as a father. I said, if the girl is good, we'll move ahead. If the girl is not good, I'll explain to you why she's not a good girl for you. And you find somebody else. Somebody else will come. But at least talk to me. He said, fine. But you got to have this open rapport with them that they can talk to you. Sometimes the parents are such, the kid can't ever open his mouth to you. He can never talk to his dad, never talk to his mom. So he's going to talk to he's going to tell his, probably his sister, or he's going to tell his brother's wife, and she's going to tell the sister, who then tells the mother, and then she tells the father. He has to go through a whole parliamentary procedure at his house for him to just get a normal, he just wants his father just to know that he's found a girl, but he can't say like that. So he's got to go through all of these different, stages, and you just made the whole system difficult for him. And then after he goes to his dad, no. Why not? I just don't want it. I just don't feel like it. Be reasonable with the children. If you're going to bring your children up in the West, you gotta pay some price in the West to have those children growing up. Anyway, any final questions? We're going to end it otherwise. Any final questions? Yes.
Going back to your first the talk you were talking about, when the kids have questions in their heart. This is linked to one of the today's technology, because you design those technology for these kids, and when they interact with the other kids and say do you know this, do you know that, and then these kids will be blank, and then they have sort of these questions and come back to you and they say I told you not to do that one. And that question will be there for them, and that asking the question back to your parents is close as well. And then you're letting the kids yourself fail in front of others. So how would you overcome this situation?
You have to give me an example. You're talking very abstract. You have to give me an actual example.
Denying the technology, because the technology is so vast in nowadays. And then you're not letting your kids to adopt those technologies. And then, when they interact with other kids and they say you know about this technology and
right. Okay.
And then you letting your kids needs to fail in front of others.
So the thing is, look, if you're surrounded by everyone who's got technologies and they're using these games and so on, at some point you're going to have to give your children some of it. If you deprive them totally, then they're going to grow up with a massive crave for that technology. And the day they get hold of it, they're going to be fully addicted. You won't be able to pull them out of it. But if you give them too much, then you spoil them and you lose them. So you got to give them some part of that, because they're going every day to school, they're talking to kids, kids are talking about this stuff, they don't know what they're talking about, and then they develop this crave inside them, and they also develop this thing that, how come I don't know this? How come I don't have any of this? So as a parent, you might have to, if you're surrounded by it, you might have to give some of it. But like I said to you, have your rules. Have your rules in the house of how much they can play. The final question I think you had. Go on. Yeah, go on.
Yes, sir. It's two small puzzle questions. Firstly, you said that when kids like the games, color, sound, the release of dopamine. As a uni student, even like 60 to 80% of our studies are now online. In these same colors, noises, and all that, dopamine is released there as well. What are kind of tips and stuff to minimize this day?
The thing is, look, with this, the new way of learning on all the technology that we've got, less learning is actually being done. People who learn just through books in the past, without any of these devices, without any of these smart tablets and phones and so on, their education level was a lot higher. So the thing is, you have to get yourself used to reading books a lot more, actual books, not just reading off tablets. Reading actual books and try and increase the amount of time that you can read a book without actually, getting bored or need to switch off and all that. It's a skill in itself to actually sit there, read a book. How long can you read it for? Is it 5 minutes? We'll increase it to 50, increase it to 10 first, and 15, 20, slowly get to 50 and a whole hour, then slowly increase even more. But you have to do that. You have to go through that and make the mind used to it. Otherwise, once you get used to all these other gadgets and stuff, it becomes easy to read off a screen, but it doesn't become easy to read off a book. And then you find it difficult to keep that knowledge, in you as well. And what's the other part of the question? That was it. Okay, Jazakumullah khair. I'll pass it on to Mawlana Burhan. Wa akhir da'wan, alhamdulillah rabbil alamin.
We say Jazakumullah wa ahsan al-jazaa, and we thank our beautiful community for taking this time firstly to be with us this evening. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward us, especially the youth. Inshallah, we've taken back a lot of lessons, a lot of food for thought, as they say. Inshallah, Aziz, we can try to implement slowly some of this into our lives. The children, as Shaykh mentioned, that when the parents are trying to guide us, it is for our benefit, inshallah, Aziz. May Allah give us the wisdom to be able to work together with Muhammad as parents, as community members, so that we can implement this. And the better we are as a community, as children, the better our future of deen is, inshallah, Aziz. Tomorrow, a very important program is taking place in Iqra Academy. We've got about 70 Islamic studies teachers and some of the imams and muallimas who teach in Madaris and Makati will be hosting a workshop here in Iqra Academy for a few hours. Shaykh will be hosting this workshop, inshallah, with regards to one of the purposes that we are fortunate Shaykh is here, is to give this training that how we as imams, our teachers here at Iqra and all our various other institutions, we can better the way we teach, the way we interact with the students. So inshallah, they are feeling happy. Like Shaykh said, that they got all of these activities, but when they come to the masjid to the dress-up, sometimes they feel it's bored. And we look at ourselves, we need to learn. Tomorrow, Shaykh will be giving us almost half a day of this professional development session, inshallah, Aziz. So that is something that the community will benefit from, when the teachers are going to benefit, alhamdulillah. And in the evening after Maghrib, there will be a short mudhakara and khafira and a short nasiha at Zakaria Academy in Willington, inshallah. and then we are going to give Shaykh Hasan to rush from there to wait for Salat al-Isha at Masjid Ibrahim. So after Isha Salah, Shaykh will have his last program tomorrow night in Masjid Ibrahim, and then on Monday, inshallah, Shaykh will then keep on, inshallah, Aziz. So please avail yourself after Maghrib for a short time, and inshallah after Isha at Masjid Ibrahim. We have the whole Sunday to relax, to take maximum benefit of the last 2 hours of the Sikha, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair, barakallahu feekum, subhanallah. Take some food that's for sale, inshallah. There's just a few packs. Please support the brother who is selling the food in the family. And we thank Brother Fawzi and his team for making this recording available. And this has been recorded, it's uploaded. You can talk to the brothers or see myself or anyone. You get the link and you can watch this and share it and share it with your family and friends, those that can benefit as well. Barakallahu feekum. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanallah wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta. Feel free to make salam if you want to. You can greet Sheikh, inshallah, no problem.